Beneath it all, he was a party man to the core, always. Sad. All of which means Joe Biden is now the presumptive Democratic nominee. Nobody really chose Biden for this job. He wound up in it by a series of defaults, and it shows. Ask yourself, is Joe Biden ready to lead this country? Could he find his car in a three-tiered parking garage? Could he navigate a salad bar? And by the way, what exactly is his position on the coronavirus pandemic? Those are the mysteries Democrats now face. Biden has been virtually invisible for the last month. That's not an accident. Joe Biden on camera means more moments like this.
We cannot let this, we've never allowed any crisis from the Civil War straight through to the pandemic of 17, all the way around 16. We have never let our democracy take second fiddle. We can both have a democracy and elections and at the same time correct the public health.
You follow that? Correct the public health. It's hard to imagine a man like that making it through a presidential debate or even staying awake through the inaugural proceedings. It seems likely that at some point Democratic leaders will try to find a way to replace Biden before the November election. Andrew Cuomo is the obvious replacement, but there are many others.
Right there. The obvious replacement, Andrew Cuomo. That's the person who Democrats seem to be clamoring for at this point. They seem to be lustily looking at Cuomo. Cuomo has said he has had no interest in getting into the race. The competition, in this case, is one Donald J. Trump. Let's hear Trump in action.
We have a total of 15 cases. And again, when you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero.
Right now, the number of COVID cases, let's refresh to get an accurate number, 529,401, 26,625 new cases, 20,468 deaths. Apparently, the United States has crossed the threshold in being number one, exceptional also in the number of deaths. That's called not having a healthcare system. That's what that is. New deaths, 1,721. Think about that. End up with 2,000 deaths a day going out into the distant foreseeable future. Isn't that amazing? Donald Trump is the guy that's responsible for that. And yet, Joe Biden fighting the coronavirus in his PJs, in his living room, giving these kind of badly worded, incoherent messages every so often, live stream. When the public is asked, who do you trust more on the coronavirus care? The guy that's been attacking reporters and is responsible for hundreds of thousands of lives and thousands of deaths, or Joe Biden sitting in his living room. By an 8-point margin, more voters picked Trump as a better leader during the crisis than Biden, who only got 36%. Though voters were split evenly in the survey when asked whom they would trust to handle the issue. Who's the better leader? Trump. Who do you think could handle it better? That's such a weird question. But they end up splitting, again, with the guy responsible for hundreds of thousands of people being affected from his incompetence and malfeasance. Yes, they have been lustily looking at Cuomo. So just to give a quick run through, I'm not going to dally on this. National poll found 56% of Democrats prefer Cuomo, with 44% wanting to stick with the presumptive nominee Joe Biden. A 12-point margin, well outside the 4.8 margin of error for the Democratic example. Hispanic voters, young people, women, self-identified liberals are most likely to dump Joe Biden in favor of Cuomo. Respondents were asked, based on what you know today, would you agree or disagree that Democrats should nominate Andrew Cuomo to the president instead of Joe Biden? There were 361 Democrat respondents, 349 Republican respondents, 262 independent respondents among people of any party, including independents who voted Democrat Hillary Clinton in 2016. The percentage favoring Cuomo increased to 57%, meaning voters who voted for Hillary Clinton would prefer to dump Joe Biden by the tune of 57%. Among people of any party, read that part, of those who voted for the President Trump in 2016, 53% prefer Joe Biden. Why? Why do you think 53% prefer Joe Biden? Why? You tell me. You tell me. Easy pickings. Easy pickings. They voted for Trump. They look at the guy who can't get out a coherent sentence. In some cases, didn't know where he was. In some cases, didn't know what Obama's name was. Flagrant liar. They see his weaknesses, meaning the corruption stuff, the rape charge. They know all that stuff. And they look at it and say, I think Trump can beat that guy. 53%. They're not betting on him to govern. You think 53% want Joe Biden because they want him to govern? No. They want him to be what is it? The Harlem Globetrotters and the Washington Generals. They want him to be Washington Generals. Cuomo was also backed by core Democratic constituencies. Among black voters who helped Biden defeat Democratic primary Bernie Sanders, 55% favored Cuomo, with just 45% favored keeping Biden. Even black voters, A2 darkies, A2. That's what Joe Biden's saying. A2 darkies, A2. How dare you? Betrayal. Outright betrayed me. Among voters 25 to 34 of any party, preference for Cuomo hit 67%. 57% of women, 58% of Hispanics prefer Cuomo. Among whites and people with college degrees or graduate degrees, there was a near even split in preference between Cuomo and Biden. The result built upon the findings of Rasmussen's that found 45% wanted Cuomo, 46% wanted Joe Biden, effectively even split. Poll results also shared the Post, also rated approval or disapproval of how Biden and Cuomo are handling the coronavirus. For Cuomo, 54% approved of his handling, 32% approved of Joe Biden's handling. Yes, that's called buyer's remorse. That's called buyer's remorse. When you see an article like this, they're floating a trial balloon. What do people think about that? This guy doesn't seem to be altogether there. I know we needed him to get past Sanders, but now we need to think about Trump now that Sanders is gone. I hate to tell you this. I understand you may be lustily looking at Cuomo. Joe Biden is not going anywhere. And I'm going to explain to you my reasoning why. Is it possible I'm wrong? Yes. But I will give you my reasoning why. Joe Biden is not going anywhere. The entire point of that election was to stop Sanders. Trump was a secondary priority. I hate to tell you this, you're stuck with Joe Biden. They understood that in having Joe Biden and coalescing around him, they understood his weaknesses. The issue was stopping Sanders. Trump was secondary. There are some levels of subsistence in which they are willing to exist. That means they are willing to exist in a world where Trump wins the second election. They're not willing to exist in a world where Sanders wins the presidency. Between the two, Sanders was more important to them. Trump. Look, and it's not a given that Trump wins. I mean, at the end of the day, you have the coronavirus wreaking havoc. And if you have a situation where the public blames Trump and it's a worst case scenario, then yeah, it doesn't matter what Joe Biden is going to do. That's a factor of Trump, though. That has nothing to do with Joe Biden. I'm going to explain to you why I don't believe anything is going to happen to Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not going anywhere. Hate to rain on your parade. You're stuck with him. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, subscribe. You can always support PayPal, Patreon. This content is indeed brought to you by you. I know people are looking around for something else. They have been looking at Cuomo and they're like, God, man, I know he attacked the hospitals, and I know he made the situation worse because, he was cutting the Medicaid budget and is trying to find a workaround so he can still get the money while also still cutting the Medicaid budget in New York. in the middle of a pandemic. I know he's doing that. I get that. But God, man, he just seems so presidential as compared to the incoherent, rambling Joe Biden. That's the rub, right? The fact that people are even talking about this gets across the level of people looking for something else. I'll give you another one. A greater indignity than that. Quinnipiac polls. Look at what Quinnipiac did. So Quinnipiac is asking about Trump and Biden. Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds great. Trump and Biden, not a big deal. That's right. And then as you get down, you get to an interesting question. Where is it? Right here. That's coronavirus. Right here. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Andrew Cuomo is handling the coronavirus? What? This is a presidential poll. Why are you asking me about Cuomo? 59% approve of the way he's handling it. 17% disapprove. Now, why are you asking me about Cuomo in a presidential poll? So, let's see. Do you approve of Congress? Right. Cuomo is the only governor that is added in this poll, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Let's see. Where's the other one? There's another question for Cuomo. Now, the interesting part, though, is if you ask people, what do you think about Cuomo? His polling is abysmal. His polling is utterly abysmal. Where is it? What's your opinion of Trump? What's your opinion of Cuomo? What's your opinion of Biden, Trump, and yeah, Cuomo? Nobody else, no other governor, Cuomo. Just so happened the guy who they've been asking about replacing Joe Biden with. Cuomo, 39% favorability. That's it, 39%. I want you to see something else. Look at Donald Trump's favorability, 41%. Then when you get to age 18 to 34, 33%. Now look at Joe Biden's. Joe Biden's 30%. Trump's approval rating favorability is higher than Joe Biden's. Look at even among 35 to 49, same thing. 50 to 64, Trump, same thing. Isn't that weird? That's so bizarre because his unfavorability is so high. Like, if you look at Trump's unfavorability, like this is Joe Biden's 49. Trump, 57. That's what I mean. It's such a polarization in regards to looking at the polling. My only point in showing this was there is a lust out there for somebody other than Joe Biden. I'm sorry, you're stuck with Joe Biden, and let me explain why. Right now, despite me gesticulating and arguing and yelling and waving my arms, and as my wife said, looking up apparently in these videos, making the argument that your best choice at getting any particular thing accomplished is ruthless dedication to a particular policy platform that you want and be willing to stay by that, not a race to the bottom. This is what I want. This is what I'm going for. I'm not a member of the party. I'm a member of people who are, push for these policies. Accept it or don't. Get my support or don't. That's where I'm at. Now, one person doing that, not a big deal. If you had 10 million people doing that, you will get your Medicare for all. That's kind of my point. That's why I push that particular agenda. I understand that it may be a situation where Donald Trump wins. Donald Trump is already a president. I hate to tell you this, all things being equal, Donald Trump is going to win anyway. If you're going to grow a spine at some point and you're going to show some level of backbone and integrity, if you don't necessarily want to continuously be taken for granted, if you don't want to continue to bitch and moan, oh, they're not listening to us. I don't understand why they don't like our policies. Our policies are popular. If at some point you get tired of that, then you need to do something different as opposed to folding yourself into a party that's over the last 50 years and damn sure 2020, if nothing else, if 2020 has not opened your eyes up, nothing will, are not on board for what you want. You are fundamentally different than that party. And because you have been cowed and scared with this argument of you have nowhere else to go, the country has drifted further and further to the right. And I hope you notice something. You folding yourself into the Democratic Party didn't do anything to stop those Republicans from getting elected. And not just that, becoming more fanatical and that much more maniacs. Why? Because the Democratic Party drifted further to the right. And as they drifted further to the right, the Republican Party kept relative distance. Meaning there was no point where they were going to say, all right, fair enough, let's just stop here. No, they already do that. On a wide host of policies, they already shake hands and agree. But on other stuff, yeah, they're going to drift further apart. You've allowed the Republican Party to effectively go further to the right in regards to financial policy and everything else. And the Democratic Party move further to the right in their ideas. And in doing so, abandon the middle class. And in doing so, deaden the expectations of the public to get anything real accomplished. So African Americans, people of color, the poor, they have a tendency to not vote because they don't necessarily see the material benefits of that vote. That's a Democratic constituency that the Democratic Party just fundamentally sheared off by their fecklessness and inability to deal with the material needs of the population. That's my argument. Your dedication to a cause is a little bit more important than your dedication to a politician. You need something to be able to compel and to force behavior. Leverage is the only thing that works in a political situation. That leverage can be an issue of cash, that leverage can be an issue of pitchforks, or that leverage can be, I can't win, but I can make you lose, and I can make you lose to a tune where you can't win anything at all. If not, have outright destruction of the party itself from an inability to win. This is what we want from the standpoint of policy. Take it or leave it. The policies are popular, you don't have an excuse. You can't say that the policies are popular, that people don't like it. That's already been proven. Take it or leave it. The youth group that has come out is a way forward. Joe Biden, look, the reason you're stuck with Joe Biden is because a lot of those Bernie supporters, despite me making that argument, are not going to listen to me. In fact, the overwhelming majority. You're probably going to get 70%, if not more, voting for Joe Biden. They're terrified of Trump. They're going to put back on their gimp suit. They're going to run, and they're going to coddle under Joe Biden, and they're going to vote for whatever Joe Biden is representing. And I don't mean that. I guess I do mean that derisively, even though that's not entirely fair. It's just the way I feel about it. So fair enough. But because of that, Joe Biden is going to get maybe, let's say 75, 80%. You might get 80%. Those policies are never going to be enacted. Now, imagine for the moment, though, that instead of Joe Biden, Democrats, DNC, imposes Cuomo. I don't even know what that looks like because I have a hard time believing that Joe Biden is just going to say, okay, fuck it, I'm done. So there's that. But on the other side of not knowing what that looks like, I can't see Tom Perez tapping Joe Biden on the shoulder and say, yeah, hit the, you can't make this dude. You're not strong enough to do this. I can't see that. I can't see that process. But beyond that part, there's a bit more structural, even if they did want to get rid of Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders supporters. Assume for the moment that Joe Biden, just by momentum alone and just by being a Democrat, is going to get 80% of Sanders supporters backing him. But will they back Cuomo? Now think about what I'm asking. Sanders ran in the race. Joe Biden ran in the race. Whatever I want to think about the way Sanders ran that race, Sanders loses. But he ran the race and he won multiple states. Joe Biden ran the race, won multiple states. Cuomo didn't do a goddamn thing. Between the two, if Biden gets out the race, Bernie Sanders supporters are going to say, the next person up is Sanders. He's the only other person that was in the race that was able to get this many delegates. The moment that you say, no, we're going to put in Cuomo, you lose a larger percentage. Meaning 15% of those supporters are going to go to Trump. Another percentage is going to stay home. What percentage will say, yeah, fuck that. I voted for Sanders. You're going to try to impose Cuomo on me. I was going to eat Biden just because Biden was at least in the race and had the patina of winning the race. But you're not going to impose Cuomo over top of Sanders when Sanders was the number 2 person. That's the issue. The issue is, I don't know how the process looks because I think that would be, I can't see Joe Biden just saying, okay. Even if Obama tapped him on the shoulder, I still have a hard time with Joe Biden just saying, okay, and bailing out. So I think that's a fight. That's the first point. On the second point, you lose a larger percentage of Sanders supporters. They're not just 15%. That's larger percentage because another percentage is going to say the person up is Sanders and they're going to protest and not vote for you. So whatever that percentage is that grows a spine in that particular moment and say, yeah, screw that. Nobody voted for him. you lose that many more. Now the catch becomes, how many more supporters can you lose before you effectively lock yourself out of any potential for winning the race? And this polling has Joe Biden right now ahead, but this, again, I would remind you, does not matter one iota. Elections are won in states, not in national polls. Hillary Clinton, yes, was able to get 3 million more votes. But Hillary Clinton, for whatever reason, didn't necessarily know that getting 3 million votes in California is not a way to win the contest, because you only have a limited amount of electoral votes that you're going to get from California, regardless of how much you rack up to store in California. She could have had 9 million votes. Fuck. She could have had 50 million votes in California. You are only ever going to get the exact same number of electoral votes. Meaning, screaming that I got 3 million more votes does not matter one iota. The country was red. From the electoral standpoint, she got whooped. And because she got whooped, Trump is now in office. I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is, if you did a polling of that, Hillary Clinton probably would have came out ahead in the poll also. Right now, they have, Joe Biden and Trump. Biden, 49%, Trump, 41%. Now, I don't know what that looks like in regards to population numbers, but that doesn't mean anything. The issue, Hillary Clinton lost that race with 3 million more votes, meaning taking just a popular vote in regards to electoral vote doesn't matter. It gives you a sense of something, but that sense of something, these things are won in states. That said, I will leave it here. Joe Biden, you guys are stuck with Joe Biden. He's not going anywhere. And by the way, if Joe Biden wanted my vote, if he was like, you know what, Jamal, and he slightly, touched me inappropriately, back away from him. Jamal, what do I have to do to get your vote? And he was sincere. He's sincere. He had that, that sincere face on. And I'm like, Joe, next time a reporter asks you this,
Final question for you, because as you've been seeing, our healthcare system seems to be crumbling underneath this crisis. There is not enough. There's not enough support for the healthcare system. There's not enough support for the American people inside of the healthcare system. Are you now reconsidering your position when it comes to single-payer healthcare?
Single payer will not solve that at all. The thing that is needed is, for example, we have a whole number of hospitals that are being so stretched and...
Yeah, if you want my vote, you can't say that. I've said for years, in being perfectly consistent, Medicare for all was my litmus test. That's where I was. You have some people who get out there and scream for abortion rights, and that's their litmus test. God bless them. Some people taxes, God bless them. Mine is Medicare for all. If I had 10, 20 million people standing beside me saying, yes, my litmus test is Medicare for all, you will get Medicare for all. You will not get Medicare for all, folding yourself within the context of a party that is entirely against it, even in the middle of a pandemic. Joe Biden, who's standing here saying, yeah, no, that's not going to help. Joe Biden is lying to you. Do you realize the money that rural hospitals got because of Obamacare kept some of those hospitals open? Because at that point, you had many people who expanded the number of people who had insurance, and expanding the number of people who had insurance, you expanded the amount of money and revenue that those hospitals were getting. Biden is not telling you the truth. A Medicare for all system would not endanger those hospitals. It would embolden those hospitals, meaning it would bolster those hospitals, making them stronger. The resources that he's talking about, to some degree, would be better spent in a system that was not necessarily built on profit, where 30% of the money is effectively going to some kind of insurance company where they're putting a percentage of millions in their pockets. I'm talking about a Medicare for all system that has 2-3% overhead, where the money of the system can be used in the context of the system itself. It would be a benefit to rural hospitals. It would be a benefit in general when people could go to the hospital to get checked. If you didn't have a dime to your name, you still had the capacity to go somewhere and get checked. It would also have been potentially beneficial to dealing with this particular pandemic, because a system that's not necessarily built entirely on profit or not on markets might have actually invested in vaccines, might have actually invested in the ventilators, might have actually invested in certain things that was necessary in regards to stockpiles. We have a capitalistic system. Markets dominate. Joe Biden, front man for that system, paid by all of the oil and gas and the health insurance companies, all the people who, supposedly railed against. Like, no, we don't need Medicare for all. That wouldn't help. It wouldn't solve it in and of itself, no. But would it help? Would it have been beneficial? I've seen people die, meaning in the news, without health care because they had the coronavirus and didn't necessarily go and get checked because they didn't necessarily want the bill. In other cases, people getting $3,000, $4,000 bills. I mean, a Medicare for all system, that's covered from jump. Even if you have to add additional resources into the system to deal with the coronavirus, your capabilities are already there within the context of the government itself just because of the way the system is organized. You could dump more resources in the system is my point. And those can go out to the various hospitals, which is my point. You have a Medicare for all system. Everybody's covered. You can't make this answer and get my vote. Flat, fact, blunt, plain. You can't make this answer and get my vote. Also, these progressive groups that are pestering Joe Biden, I suggest you listen to them. My other litmus test is the elimination of student debt. Again, that's my litmus test. Those are my two issues. Elimination of student debt, Medicare for all. Don't get me wrong, I have a litany of issues. Wealth tax, increasing wages, all that stuff. Worker co-op section, making sure you expand green, like in regards to the Green New Deal, solar panels on everybody's houses so they can pull themselves off the energy market. Oh man, I have a litany of issues. But I'm reasonable in the sense that I didn't win. And so I get that what I'm trying to do at this point is influence. But I'm trying to influence in a way that says do this or I'm out. I'm done. I am no longer participating in this particular political process with this particular party. I'm done. I voted Green Party in 2016. Damn proud of that vote. And would do it again if given the opportunity because my policy agenda is not necessarily accomplished. Again, if millions walked with me, you will get your policy agenda. The way you're going, you never will. That's the difference in the language that I'm talking about. It's the difference between focusing on a person versus focusing on a policy. Focusing on a policy allows you to get a large aggregation of people behind your particular cause where you could put force of weight onto the political system to compel their behavior. Again, either through their loss or through their support. At some point, somebody will come to fill the void and pick up that particular cause because they can get in power, providing they do what they've allowed them to do. I guess I'm making the point here that, yes, Sanders have flamed out, but you do have options and you do have leverage in regards to the way you go about your politics. Slightly. This election is different. Under normal circumstances, the party doesn't want to lose. If Obama was running the race, Obama would not want to lose that race. And because the Democrats wouldn't want Obama to lose that race, they would work in tandem with Obama in order to help him. In the case of this, they wanted Sanders to lose that race. They're okay with Biden losing that race, even though they would prefer him to win it. He's an empty suit. But all things being equal, what's important is they're okay with him losing the race, as long as it stops Sanders. So trying to threaten in a sense that, look, you do X or you don't get the support. From the establishment Democrat standpoint, that's to some degree is already factored in with Biden. The catch here is, what is Biden thinking? Does Biden actually think he has a chance of winning this thing? And if he does, that's where your leverage lie in making the point that, dude, you're going to lose if you don't do this. And again, this is not me saying anything that's problematic to Joe Biden. Right here, COVID-19 escalates net support for Medicare for all, jumps 9 points among voters. And a majority in the country, majority. Overwhelming majority in the party to which you find yourself. So if you tell me you don't support it, you're out of kilter with the American public. I would say go and do the public's work. Do you support proposals that will make public colleges, universities, and trade schools free for all and cancel all existing student debt? 58% support, 42%. Harris Hill. Again, this is not me asking you to do something or trying to compel you to do something that is against public interest. It is literally within the public interest. The public literally agrees with it overwhelmingly, both policies. That's kind of my point. When I am making this case about, hey, let's lump behind various policies, I'm talking about lumping behind various policies that the majority of the population agrees with and forcing government to act based on putting pressure on the political system. Now, I don't expect that force to be waged in the first go-around. This is somewhat of a siege war that is going to exceed elections because things have gone on for so long. There's no magical door. The Democratic Party is going to test your resolve and whether or not you're serious about it or not, believing that ultimately you will kowtow into the idea of you have nowhere else to go, and he gets enough of you to potentially, maybe, hopefully, get Biden over the finish line. But again, if he doesn't, none of them. Nancy Pelosi is not going to be hurt, and her $100 million is not going to be hurt one iota. None of them. None of the news media, none of those people. Trump, they dislike his sensibilities. But from the economic standpoint, they don't give a shit if Trump is in office in that sense. They just don't like him. There's a difference between us in regards to how the things that we need having Republican Party in office versus millionaires who just don't like him. One is aesthetics. The other one is actual material need. I'm making the point that if Joe Biden wants the support of the left, he needs to support the policies that the left backs. There's no magic. That's it. Otherwise, Joe Biden should lose. I'll leave it there. Like, share, subscribe. Marcus Will Biden cut Social Security if he's into office? By the way, you missed my super chat. I got you. Oh, you mean for which one? You did one earlier? I didn't see one earlier. Look, Biden won't. It would be so fucking weird if Biden cut Social Security if he made that his agenda. The point, though, is that you can't trust them with it. I guess is the catch. You get a Republican House, Republican Senate, and Biden wants to make a deal. Obama was willing to make a deal to cut Social Security. Why wouldn't Biden be the same character? Especially since he spent his entire career talking about cutting it. I hope you understand what I mean. He's not trustworthy in this case. I don't trust him at all, and neither should you. Marcus Will, Bernie Sanders was shocked. Bernie got up on stage and announced that we are finally down to 2 candidates while Tulsi was shut out. Tulsi was shut out. But what does that have to do with Sanders being shocked? He was shocked. Look, I think he was naive, yes. But naivety doesn't necessarily stop the person. The person is shocked because they're naive, yes. Those things are going in tandem, if you know what I mean. All right, I'll end this here. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks all.